Hey Chris, what's going on, man?
Doing good. How are you?
Good. Glad we could finally connect. Look, we'll jump right to it.
Let's do it.
Just let's go a little bit about into your background, playing career, and talk about the business and where you're at, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, that sounds great. Yeah, well, so my name's Chris Knowles. I prefer Chris Knowles. I usually put Christopher Knowles for everything else. But yeah, I've been an athlete my entire life. I grew up playing sports as a kid. I played every sport you could imagine: soccer, baseball, flag football. Didn't reach the pads, but I definitely played a good amount of flag football. And then I kind of went through middle school, and I was playing basketball and volleyball at the same time because my dad was a Division One collegiate and professional overseas basketball player. So that's kind of, and my mom is a runner, so that's where we get a lot of our athletic genes from. But I was playing basketball and volleyball at the same time, and my basketball skills were kind of declining, and my volleyball skills were increasing. So I was like, I'm going to ride this wave into high school because I didn't want to be like a dual sport athlete. I wanted to go all in on one. So I went into high school, played varsity all 4 years, which was great. Such a good experience to play with those guys, but also just, have fun in high school sports. It's always a good time. Uh, Came out of high school as a first team All American my senior year. Had a really great senior year. It was so much fun. And then I went out of high school, went to a school called McKendree University. If you know what it is, that would shock me more than if you don't know. um, and so I went there. The school was entirely athletes. I think it was like 80% athletes, 20% just regular students out in Illinois, in the middle of nowhere. But we definitely made the most of it. And that's really the place where all of this started, this entrepreneurial business mind, kind of like share messages and content and things like that. So I was at McKendree, and I wasn't really getting the things that were promised to me when I was getting recruited. A lot of the things for me was playing. Obviously, I wanted to go where I could play. I didn't really care if it was USC, Long Beach, the big name, but I'm on the bench for 3 years. I wanted to go to a place that I could make an impact. And so I went there, kind of got really not what I was promised. And so things kind of started to fall apart of like, hey, like, do I still want to be an athlete? Starting to really have that first identity, little taste of identity crisis with being an athlete. And so there, I can vividly remember it. I was sitting in my dorm room. I'm on YouTube just scrolling, and I see this video called How to Use Your Mind, How to Control Your Mind to Get Anything You Want. And it was by this guy named Ed Milet. Didn't know who he was at the time. So I was like, okay, this sounds awesome. So I watched this video, and I was just absolutely blown away into the personal development, the habits he was talking about. And I didn't even know what entrepreneurship was. I didn't even know the word. And so I started watching this guy, Ed Milet. Then that led to other entrepreneurs like Tony Robbins, Dean Graziosi. I watched John Maxwell. Everyone just took a full deep dive and then kind of learned what entrepreneurship was through YouTube. And so through that, I was kind of like, okay, I want to really pursue this new thing, this new chapter of my life instead of being an athlete, right? So took a year off, dropped out of college for a year, about and a half, and that's kind of where I was pursuing literally everything under the sun. I did a social media marketing agency. I did short-term rentals. I did like door to door. I did literally anything you could imagine. And so none of those things really worked out at all. And so I was kind of like, okay, what should my next thing be? And I kept hearing that like the first rule of entrepreneurship is use what you have or use what you know. And I was like, okay, well, I have eight, 8 or 9 years at that point of volleyball experience. Why don't I just share what I know? Right. I have this huge knowledge about the game and how to be better and how to reach the D1 level because I did it. So I went and I built this page called Volleyball Growth Coach. Within 9 months, I built it to about 147,000 followers on Instagram and I think like 92,000 on TikTok. And it was awesome. A lot of kids I was coaching at the same time. So a lot of kids were recognizing me at tournaments and like wanting to take pictures and stuff. So I felt my
That's the
little
guy.
almost famous moment. Yeah. Yeah. So that was really awesome. And I think that got my desire to go back to sports again, and kind of finish out my career and at least play. I was like, I don't want to be like, oh, I missed the opportunity to play in college. So that turned into having to go to JUCO for a semester to get my credits back. And then I went to a school called LIU Brooklyn this past year. And it was amazing. It was obviously in New York. I'm 22, so getting to kind of explore the city was incredible. The guys were amazing. Still close with pretty much all of them. And then kind of played a great year. Had an awesome year in the conference and personally. And then I was kind of like, hey, my body was starting to fall apart. I'm like, if I play another year, I'm probably going to get massively hurt, and I don't want to be one of those guys that has like rods and bolts in his body and all that. So I was like, okay, now that I've played, now that I've got it out of the way, essentially, let's move on. Let's go back to that next phase of life of what I want to build. And so at that time, I had sold volleyball growth coach. So I was kind of like, okay, what should my next thing be? And I was talking with a lot of guys on my team and on years previous to the teams I was on. And a lot of them were dealing with this thing of like, I literally don't know who I am anymore, or like losing that party, or like the boring part of like, okay, now I gotta go get a job or whatever it is. And then I was like, okay, why don't I just do basically like volume two of volleyball growth coach? And the volleyball growth coach is all about becoming the greatest athlete you can, and volleyball player mostly. But now I think Unjerseyed is this next season of like, okay, now the sports is over. How do you build that next phase of your life? And I think that's such a massive challenge and such a huge weight on a lot of athletes after the sport is over, or they get hurt, or they leave, or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that's how kind of my sports career and how we got to Unjerseyed, and that's kind of the vision for the next however long I can take it.
Yeah, that's incredible, man. I mean, there's a few things that really stuck out to me because you did the thing that a lot of people get into this habit of is you went down the rabbit hole of the YouTube videos, right? And
Yeah,
you went to Ed Milet, you went into Tony Robbins, everything. I'm the same way. Once I get hooked on something, that algorithm, man, they just spit out the next thumbnail that you need. So
yeah,
the biggest thing I took away from that too was you took action. I mean, a lot of people would have just said, okay, look, I'm going to keep watching, keep learning, and then when I'm ready, I'm going to do it. But I mean, you really took action. So what was the mindset going from, okay, I'm learning this stuff, but I need to
yeah.
do. What kind of triggered that for you, and to accept, like you said, those failures, but also learn from them in the process?
Yeah, of course. That's a great question. The thing is for me is like I'm not going to be like, oh yeah, I watched 5 videos and I was good to go. Like I think I found that video during season. Like, it was after the first couple of games of ours. So it was really a whole semester. So whatever that is, 4 months, 5 months, I think that is. So really, it was let's say 6 months, half a year of watching videos. Like I used to have like they're called Phoenix journals off Amazon. You can like look it up, you still find them. But they would have like your goal for the day, your actions, what do you want to get done today, and then like reflection at the end of the day. So every day I would write down so video and notes. So I would have this notebook that was this thick, watch videos and just write notes every single day. I don't know if my parents will be proud of this, but I did more van than homework. So that was my main focus than getting actual schoolwork done. But yeah, it was literally a consistency of every single day. Like I was addicted to it. I would go to practice, I would go to my classes, go back to my dorm room and just watch videos for hours and take notes. I think that's the biggest thing for me is even if in everything I'm doing now is writing it down. Cause I
Yeah.
think especially for someone like me, I don't have a phenomenal memory, but
Mhm.
writing it down really engraves it in my brain, whether I like read that notebook ever again or not. So I think that was the first thing is really that habit of in that learning process, writing it down or documenting it somehow. But yeah, and I think the mindset switch to taking action was really in a lot of those videos, their teachings were like, hey, all of this is good mentality stuff, but it doesn't mean anything unless you put it into action. So I think
Yeah.
it was maybe a little bit of kind of like, yeah, being young and naive. Like I was 18, 17, 18 at the time. So I was like, oh, this is going to work out first try, So I think it was more like, oh yeah, my first idea is going to kill it and I'm going to be rich. It's going to be awesome. So I think actually going through it, I realized that's obviously not the case. Like get rich quick does not exist at all.
Mhm.
And I think it was more the mindset of really honestly the confidence in myself. I think after that 6 months of like, once I've accumulated all that knowledge, I was kind of like, it kind of just clicked with me of like, okay, I'm watching different videos and they're the same message. So I'm like, okay, so obviously I have some kind of foundation if I'm hearing the same thing over and over again.
Mhm.
And yeah, and I think it was just that blind confidence that I'm like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go do it. It's gonna be awesome. And I think a part of that is also like having a vision for myself. I think like doing all this knowledge gathering and all that stuff, but then I kept like meditation and like visualization obviously as athletes is a huge thing, and I think I took that into it as well, of just visualizing what I wanted the next year of my life to look like after dropping out, like showing off in front of old teammates, whatever it might be, like the I want to live here, I want to have this car, whatever. So I think that visualization was also a lot of the like, kind of the target or like the goalpost to aim at, of like, okay, awesome, I have this really cool life that I'm aiming at now, let's go get it, essentially. So I think, yeah, probably to be fully honest, probably a lot of young being and naive of like, oh yeah, it's gonna work out first try, but also a lot of that confidence within myself of like, hey, I just spent the last 6 months learning these things. I have that built up confidence that I can go act on it and go do it. Right. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, incredible. I wrote an article on Substack, 12 reasons why athletes make incredible entrepreneurs. And
Hmm.
you just hit on several points that, is so relevant to that because you knew it was like preseason. You did the research, you did the learning, and then now
Yeah.
it's time to go play. You can't
Yeah,
just on the
exactly.
sideline and say, "Well, I don't know if we're ready to start the season yet." Like you went and you got after it, and then even including visualization, mental imagery, seeing the success and knowing what you're capable of, and what I've always added to the visualization was, hey, see yourself failing, and then see how you react. What's the change going to be, right? So, I mean, you just added to
For
that
sure.
completely. So let's fast forward a little bit. So you grew on TikTok, you grew on Instagram,
Hmm.
you made this incredible account. You've essentially become a creator. So I, of course, have seen you on LinkedIn. So
Hmm.
what made the shift, and what's the theory behind going to LinkedIn now with what you're trying to do with Unjerseyed?
Yeah, I think I learned like I think I totally agree with what you're saying with learning from failures and like like failing forward, that whole thing. I think how I handled VGC, volleyball growth coach, after like looking back on it, I'm like, dude, I could have done this, I could have done that, I could have done that, like, but I
Yeah.
wouldn't have those lessons unless I sold it, unless I got rid of it.
Mhm.
Which looking back, I should have kept it probably and just rebranded it. Uh, but I think the biggest thing for me was understanding. The first thing I think was understanding my audience. I think that's the biggest thing,
Yeah.
is where most of my audience actually going to be and where can I reach them the best. And
Yeah.
I think when I first started out the brand, I didn't post a single thing. I really messaged a lot of people on LinkedIn that just had former athlete in their bio, and
Yeah.
I messaged them like, hey, I have this survey, I would love for you to fill out some of your information in, but like it was more of just like, hey, what do you want this brand to be? I told them like, hey, I have this brand I'm trying to build for former athletes, and it was like 12 or 15 questions, and then I got a lot of their input of what they would need, and then I just saw the consistencies between it, and a lot of it was either identity and personal development of like, how do I now, how, like, I knew how to get better as an athlete, how do I get better as a person now, right? All this personal development, but then a lot of it was also money, career, and things like that, and it's that drop off between, I was this stellar athlete, now I'm working at a desk for 9 to 5, whatever, it's not the same
Yeah.
thrill, whatever it might be. So yeah, I think that's really how I started it first. I wanted to make sure that there was a real audience for it, and I heard so much great feedback right away. So I kind of took that as a sign of like, hey, there's definitely, I've definitely struck a nerve here. There's something here. And then yeah, and I think the biggest thing I also learned with VGC is I was posting on all platforms on VGC, and Instagram and TikTok really just hit first.
Mhm.
So I think that was the biggest sign too. I did the same thing. I started posting on LinkedIn, Instagram, X, and all this other stuff. And LinkedIn kind of hit really fast. Like I posted this one post. It's one of my pinned posts, and it got like 27 likes and like 8 comments or something. Obviously, that's not a ton, but I think that to me, that was like, this is a clear sign that LinkedIn is where most of these people are, right? Because they're looking for that next phase of their life on LinkedIn. You're not looking on Instagram to, build the next phase of your life. So I think, yeah, it really doesn't matter the platform, because I want to expand to all platforms. Like I do have an Instagram account and I want to expand there as well. But yeah, I think that's just what I learned from VGC, is wherever it hits first and then ride that wave, because then that obviously means, like you said with YouTube, like the algorithm's picking you up, it's pushing it to more people. And yeah, and I think most of my target audience is just on there as well. But yeah, it's really just been taking the lessons from BGC of like, okay, how can I do this better the second time around?
Yeah, very cool. And yeah, you mean, it's not easy doing what you just talked about. I mean, it takes time to DM everybody that's a former athlete and get the survey out and then analyze
Totally,
the data. I mean, but you did it right completely, and that's the process that it takes. So, I mean, Unjersey, great branding, great idea, and that's probably why I came across your content was because I'm looking at former athletes too in terms of getting out of that rut, getting in the mindset, and like you said, the
for
key
sure.
word there is identity. It's figuring out who you are, who you want to be, and going from there. If selling real estate is not in your identity and not something that you're passionate about, it's going to get a little bit old, at some
Yeah.
point. So, um, incredible. So gearing back to college athletics, okay, I saw your post, I think it was yesterday or Monday, that we started talking about NIL. And I completely agree. I ran the stats on it, and NIL is being so underutilized by so many athletes. Now, we
Hmm.
see the big names. I think there's a quarterback who just got signed for a $5 million deal. Football players are getting released. I mean, it's this crazy nonsense. But at the same time, so many mid-tier athletes across the entire country have so many opportunities to make a little cash on the side to promote brands and businesses. Like, for example, when I have a athlete cohort, they'll all be signed to an NIL deal. You're getting a referral link, and you can.
Hmm.
There's no cap on your on your commission there, right? So
No.
let's talk about NIL there and where you see it in the state of forget the big names getting the millions of dollars. Let's talk about
For
the
sure.
average athlete like you and I were at that mid-tier, mid-level college that can make a little money to, support ourselves as a 18, 19, 20-year old.
Yeah, for sure. I think no, I definitely agree. I think the first thing that I think of with that I could assume and probably guess correctly that the mentality with mid-level athletes, maybe low-level athletes, is like a lot of athletes are probably thinking, oh, like I'm too small, no brand would want to work with me. Like I go to LIU, I go to Merrimack, I go to these small schools or whatever it might be. I go to wherever it might be. I think that was the mentality that really hit me because obviously last year was my last year. And I think for me, I always put NIL on like the side or like even not even in my peripherals. My whole thing was winning. I want the championship. I want to beat everyone in front of me the whole nine.
Yeah.
And I think that mentality of like, oh, I'm too small. No brand's going to want to work with me. And I was thinking about it, but literally before this call, I was like, other small businesses are thinking the same thing. Like there's like obviously there's Nike, there's Adidas, there's Celsius, all this stuff, right? But most companies that need the brand awareness are those mid-level small companies that can't reach the top guys, right? Because their contracts are too small for them or whatever it might be. So I think the first thing was the mentality because I definitely had that of like, oh, I'm at this small school, no brand's gonna care. I'll just focus on sports, right?
Yep.
But I think athletes nowadays and myself had to realize that like, hey, there's other small businesses and mid-level businesses that you're their target audience. It's perfect. A couple of my teammates who are still at LIU now, they're one of them is Serbian, and he's posting for this like Serbian water bottle company, and I'm like, dude, this is awesome. And one of my other teammates who's a middle, he posted about something yesterday, and I DM'd him. I'm like, dude, this is sick. Like keep this up. So I think it's that realization that there are small and mid-level brands out there that like, hey, you are their target audience is this mid-level athlete, whatever it might be.
Right.
And I think obviously there's like a bunch of branding components. I think a lot of other creators go into as well. But I think my main focus with the athletes and the NIL side is really the money side of like, I've heard countless stories of, oh, this guy played in the NBA and then 2 years later, he's literally on the street in like a homeless shelter or whatever it might be. And he was playing in front of 40,000 people last week. And then there's other stories of like this O lineman you've never heard of on the Panthers making 200 grand a year. Now he runs a company and is worth millions of dollars because he handled his money correctly.
Yep.
So I think that's also the opportunity that athletes have that, like, if I was a freshman in college right now again, I would be going all in on branding myself of just like, I think athletes overcomplicate branding of like, do I have to do talking
Yeah.
videos? Like, no. How you brand yourself is literally who you are and how you play as an athlete. I was a big shit talker, aggressive, super passionate. That would have been my brand, right? And then I would just post clips of me playing and maybe talking a little yang on the side, and then that becomes my brand naturally, right? Because we're recorded as athletes so much. And then when you have traction and people resonate with how you play and who you are, then when you plug a brand, it makes more sense. Not just like, oh, this guy that never posts on Instagram, he just made this story about like water or whatever it is. So I think the first thing is obviously you need to brand yourself, and the easiest way is just branding how you play. But I think the financial side is also seeing it as an opportunity of like, if you make 10 grand from a brand deal, obviously it'd be nice to live off some of that. But I think with now building out this financial agency on the side of what I'm doing, trying to connect with Unjerseyed to the financial side, is because with that survey, I saw a lot of people like, I don't know what to do with money, and I don't know what to do with my career and stuff like that. So I think the biggest thing is like that 10K, you need to see it. Another mentality thing is seeing it as like a seed, like planting it for your future. That 10 grand isn't to, oh, let's go to this club in Brooklyn or wherever it is, or in California.
Right.
Let's go here. Let's blow it. I'm gonna spend it all
Blow
on
it
my
all.
teammates. No, yeah, like that. Think about that story of the O lineman that took a smaller seed than all the other guys around him, but now he has something bigger than some of the athletes around him that had bigger contracts, we're at Alabama, we're at Georgia, whatever it might be, at UCLA, whatever the big school could be, because they did the right thing with money, right? And the opportunity they were given. So I think that's the biggest thing. Is I think branding is honestly the easiest part. But the other side is, okay, now that this kid has this money, where does he go? Like, I've talked to a bunch of different like NIL agents or like management companies that handle athletes NILs, like contracts and their deals and stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, cool. I'm like, oh, you handle their deals, you handle their communication with companies. I'm like, what about the money? Like, how do you help them when they actually get the money? And they're like, oh, we don't do that. And I'm like, what do you mean? The whole point is to get the money, and you can't even help them with that. So I think that's also the biggest fall off is everyone's like, oh, NIL deals, get the deal, get the deal. But it's like, okay, what do you do with that money once you got it? Right?
Yeah.
Like, no one's answering that question. And I think that's the biggest thing that I want to focus on is like,
Yeah.
whether you make $1 million deal because you're an Alabama wide receiver, or you make 10 grand because you're a opposite from LIU, both have the same opportunity to grow. It's just that mentality of, do you see it as a seed, or just be like, oh, I'm balling now, let's go blow it.
Right. And
Yeah.
of course, I keep up with all the guys, Gary Vee and everybody who, you
Hmm.
know, you don't need followers. You don't need followers at this point.
Nope.
Anybody could post one video and it can go viral in a second, as long as it provides some kind of value or some kind of attention grabbing piece. So, the athletes that I look for NIL deals for my company, my small business, my solopreneurship brand, I want you to be able to post every single day. I don't want you to post
Hmm.
about me every day, but I want you to post every single day, because there are thousands of people who want to know what it's like inside the life of the college athlete. So just
Hmm.
post the 5 a.m. wake up, post practice time, post study halls, post the meal, put a couple clips from when you played, and just post every single day. And then before you know it, like I would take that person who has 100 followers but post daily, because I know that they're going to build the brand, versus somebody with 10,000 followers that posts once a week or once a month. It's not getting the same value. There's not more likelihood of getting more attention and eyeballs on the content. So posting every day, pick a platform, resonate with it, and then show a brand and say, look, hey, I post every day. Here's my view count. Would you like this incorporated and, promote you guys? Of course, absolutely. And then there you go. And then, like you said, it's the big piece is what to do with it from there. That's a huge part of it, because you're going to have parents saying, put it in a savings account. You're going to have
Yeah.
friends saying, blow it. And then you're going to have people like us who are going to say, you should probably start investing that and let it kind of work for you without touching it,
Exactly.
in a certain way. So
For sure.
I'm with you on that. It's a big,
Yeah.
yeah. So that might be the next podcast. So that might be the next workshop, is talking about, okay, you just got $5,000. where do we go from here? 3 options, 3 courses of action. Let's go.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and I think that's what's definitely opened my eyes to it too. And I definitely agree with the posting consistently. Like I wouldn't have built VGC if I didn't post every day for that 9 months, and like that's it. And there's really no game to it. You don't have to follow any trends. Like I'm outside right now. Like it doesn't matter. Like as long as you're posting every day, people will resonate and people will watch. That's it. And I think I totally agree with you too because I think with like I was saying before, like, with being in the financial space now, I've realized that like oh, like 5 grand's nothing. I can't do anything with that. You can turn that into some serious money and really set yourself up for success after sports financially. Because
Yes.
that's the biggest thing people go through is I left sports. I have no job. I got no money, got nowhere to go. Right. And that's the big fall off, like that pit that I like to talk about of like all athletes fall in that pit right
What?
after school or whenever it might be. Yeah. But that's what I'm saying. Any amount of money can be a seed to like maybe not even having to work after college, that like stuff like
Right.
that. So
Right.
yeah,
Right. If you can learn how to make the money work for you, the rest is history.
yeah,
I mean, it's
you
just a
win
matter of knowing how to do it.
for
So
sure.
this has been awesome, man. So look, where can we find you? How do we get in touch with you? I'll put all the links to the socials in the description, but what's the best way to get in touch with you and start working with you and get part of Unjerseyed?
Yeah, for sure. Well, so I have the Instagram account. It's at Unjerseyed. I'm on X as at Unjerseyed as well. LinkedIn is just I believe it's my full name, like the Christopher Knowles or just Christopher Knowles. But you could probably look up Unjersey to find my stuff there too. Something I'm trying to focus on right now is building out a WAP community because I want to kind of really start developing like a community and a pool of athletes that are together and really build something that start building that platform. I think the vision for Unjersey is to really obviously solve the needs of the audience and what the people want. I think that's something I ran into VGC is like, oh, I'll just make clothes, I'll make a coaching program and they'll love it, right? And no one did. So mainly focusing on obviously what the target audience wants, but I'm kind of really focused on building out that community so that I can ask them what do they want and we can all grow together because I think Unjerseyed really isn't about me. I think VGC was heavily focused on my knowledge, but Unjerseyed, I really wanted to turn into the story of all athletes, right? Being on this podcast, talking to you, starting my own podcast, talking to other athletes. I think the brand is really all about us athletes and not just me at the center of it, you know? So, yeah, so Unjerseyed really on any platform, you can probably find it. And then, yeah, building out on YouTube and then hopefully on Spotify with podcasts and things like that. So really anywhere you have social media, Google Unjerseyed and it'll pop up.
Very good. Yeah, definitely. I'm gonna hit you up. I definitely want to know more about the WAP community because I'm trying to figure out the best way to use it too. I've done some things on school, and I've done just the Telegram. But if WAP is kind of everything, then I want to check it out too. So very
Yeah, for
awesome,
sure.
man. So Chris, can't thank you enough, man. This has been awesome, and definitely looking forward to collaborating more and getting on another workshop, podcast, and staying in touch, man.
For sure. Yeah. Thanks, Grant. I appreciate the opportunity. I'm looking forward to it.
Brother, talk soon.